Leon Ward, who's the co-chair of the Commonwealth Youth Forum, and Dr. Adam Elliott-Cooper, who's a research associate at King's College London. Well, let's stay with that. Relic or relevant, Dr. Cooper?
I guess one of the ways in which the Commonwealth is often presented is being about trade. But if we look at London Stock Exchange, we can see that these British multinationals own about $1 trillion worth of African resources, from gold mines to diamond mines to oil reserves. And we can also see that they own about 1 million square kilometres of African land. And so what we're kind of seeing is the continued land, labour resources of the former British Empire continuing to benefit British companies.
So you think it's still operating like the British Empire, it's just morphed into something a bit different?
I think the evidence suggests that, yes.
OK. What do you make of that, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's relatively true, actually. But the Commonwealth is now, I think, going through a period of kind of reinvigoration and rejuvenation and kind of modernising, actually. That's what the Queen certainly was talking about this morning at Buckingham Palace, and what lots of the heads are referring to as well through their discussions. So I think there is a relic element to it, but actually there is now a part rejuvenation to the Commonwealth.
But you take on board that economic argument put there by Dr. Cooper, that it's largely to the benefit of the UK at the moment.
Yes, I think that is right at the moment. I think that is going to change. Of course, the cynics amongst the kind of Commonwealth family, if you like, would say actually that's because of the Brexit Britain and Britain trying to re-find its way in the world. But actually, trade between Commonwealth countries is hopefully going to increase. There is a lot of potential there for Commonwealth countries to benefit from trading, not just with the UK or Canada or New Zealand or Australia, but actually within and among each other across the African Union countries, around the Pacific countries. There's a lot of opportunity
OK,
there.
well, what do you say to that, Dr. Cooper, then? The idea that it's evolving, it's changing, and that imbalance will get sorted out?
I think it's quite interesting we talk about kind of regional trading between different Commonwealth countries. One of those regional trade blocs is the CARICOM in the Caribbean nations. And what they propose to Britain is that a conversation is begun to begin repairing the legacies of slavery and empire in the Caribbean. And this is a conversation that Britain is not prepared to engage in at all. And I think this shows a kind of stubbornness to moving forward and having maybe a more rejuvenated and more equitable approach to
let's follow that just a bit more. I mean, you say a conversation, would that then just ultimately lead to an apology, or do you think it could lead to reparations?
I think it would ultimately lead to fairer trade relations between Britain and its former colonies, which I think would begin to repair the legacies of slavery and colonisation.
Leon Ward.
You know, as I said, the Commonwealth is going through that rejuvenating process. I think the Gambia rejoining is a kind of example of that, actually, that countries proactively are wanting to join this organisation because they recognise its convening power. I would say its convening power is stronger only, it's second only to the United Nations, actually, in the fact that you now have 53 heads of states here in London. There is a queue of countries that are wanting to join the Commonwealth as well. And actually, there is more to this than the economic side of things. The Prime Minister on Tuesday, when the joint forums of the Commonwealth met, gave an apology for the British role in kind of spreading anti-LGBT laws across the Commonwealth. Those sorts of apologies are very rare, but actually I think in the new modernisation of the Commonwealth we're going to see a bit more of that, actually. The UK recognising its role in some of the bad traits, if you like, that we see in other Commonwealth countries.
You got on to LGBT rights, and there are so many countries in the Commonwealth that have, of course, some outlaw homosexuality, gay marriage, all kinds of things. Do you think really Britain could, given its legacy, Britain could put pressure on these countries to change?
I think when we look at the myriad of different human rights abuses and impediments to freedom in the Commonwealth countries, we don't really see Britain playing that positive a role. We see the head of state of Kenya, for instance, being invited to buy arms, despite the fact that hundreds of people have been disappeared in Kenya. We also see Sierra Leone and other countries on the African continent, and Uganda as well, also being kind of mollycoddled by Britain, because it does, in effect, support Britain's national interests to be close to these countries, despite the horrendous human rights abuses that we see being exhibited.
And isn't that the case then, back to Brexit, Leon Ward, that, Britain needs the Commonwealth much, much more now and is probably more likely to overlook some of these abuses to get a trade deal?
Potentially, we'll see. But actually, from being within the Commonwealth circles for a couple of years, actually, these things do come up. They might not come up in the public kind of debating atmosphere that we see between Commonwealth countries, but part of the Heads of Government meeting is a secret retreat where actually it's only the heads in a room with no one else in there. So there are things that are happening. And the PM on Tuesday, not only did she say sorry in terms of we acknowledge what we've done for anti-LGBT laws, but actually we are here to help you. She offered an assistance programme to countries that want to modernise their laws and bring some of that...
lot to get through. I mean, last thought, obviously, about Prince Charles taking over. Shouldn't it become more like the European Union, I suppose, the Commonwealth, in that, you rotate the presidency, something like that, or certainly elect them? Would that be important symbolically that the British head of state is no longer in charge?
I think it certainly would be symbolic, and I think maybe a more material change would be the fact that, if the electronic components in our microphones no longer came from Central Africa, and our clothes no longer manufactured in Bangladesh, and the tea no longer was only channeling from India to the rest of Europe, and of course the sugar that goes into our tea wasn't still being cultivated and chopped and sent from the Caribbean colonies.
You're saying who's in charge perhaps isn't the real question, but I'm going to ask it anyway to you, Leon Ward. Why should Prince Charles take over after the Queen stands down?
It's not for me to say. The heads have to decide who takes over. It does look likely. In fact, the speeches this morning in Buckingham Palace almost confirmed it, practically did confirm it. I think there's something about the personal commitment of the royal family here. So lots of countries actually take that deeply personal relationship with the royal family. I mean, I have my own issues with the royal family. Of course I do, like everybody. But actually, the Commonwealth is bigger than the United Kingdom. We are the chair in office for these 2 years from now until 2020, but then it will move. The chair in office moves every time the heads meet.
I'm sorry about that time. Very illuminating debate. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Leon Ward and Dr. Adam Elliott-Cooper. Very good to see you. Thank you. Now it's